Mom changed wedding cake behind back and doesn't know that I know. What should I do? I am not Oop. Oop is you, Lollyluhu. Originally posted to our Bridezillas. Mom changed wedding cake behind back and doesn't know that I know. What should I do? Trigger warnings. Manipulation. Less than. And NBSP. Original post September 26, 2023. My fiance and I get married this fall, and the cake has been a huge point of contention with my mom. Long saga, but the gist is that we wanted a dessert bar or cheesecake instead of a traditional cake. My mom initially insisted on having at least a small cake for just us to cut. We compromised and got quotes. Right before we put a deposit down, she decided that having just a cake for us and not for guests is tacky, so we needed to get a sheet cake to serve as well. We were annoyed because she was the one to suggest it, so we cut our losses and opted to do tiered cheesecake and mini cheesecakes, as we originally wanted. My mom would not let this go for the past 6 months. She then decided to focus on pushing for a groom's cake. My fiance did not want one. When I told her this, she said it's really only a groom's cake in name and not about what he wants. I told her a firm no, multiple times because she wouldn't give up. That brings us to this week. I got a text yesterday saying she was at the bakery and paid for the order. I got suspicious because I never included her in those communications. I called the bakery today and was told by a very apologetic employee that my mom had added a multi-tiered groom's cake with different fillings, flowers, the whole kit and caboodle. We still have cheesecake, but I feel like it'll look silly next to what is essentially a wedding cake. My question now is, what do I do? She doesn't know that I know. I'm furious and hurt. Obviously it's just a cake. But it's not really about that now. She went behind my back and crossed multiple boundaries after I told her no. Am I being a bridezilla for not letting her have her traditional wedding cake? Relevant comments. Stem of Sage. Why should she have a cake at your wedding? If you don't want cake, just change the order back and call it a day. And add a password for all your vendors moving forward so changes can't be made without it. Oop. Everyone I've spoken to has either been in the camp of, well, they're paying for the wedding, or, not her wedding, not her cake. I think that's why I'm torn because yes, they are paying, but changing the order behind my back? I'm more upset about the violation of trust than the actual cake. I think. Wasakudane person. It is not just a cake, it is a breach of your boundaries and your wishes. Cancel her order. Put a password on all your wedding accounts. You are not marrying her, you are marrying your partner. Oop. Exactly. It's the breach of trust that's been the most upsetting. I need to call back tomorrow and see if it's possible to cancel and get a refund. Since she paid in full, I suspect she did that intentionally, thinking she was being so clever. Tropics and caffeine. Ask the bakery to convert the cake into additional cheesecake and mini cheesecakes. Maybe a smaller groom's cake that looks nothing like a wedding cake. Do not tell her you did this. When you go to the bakery, have a password put on the order so it cannot be changed after you make the appropriate changes. She thinks she got something over on you. If she does check on it, the password will stop her from making any other changes. If she shows up at the venue with yet another cake, instruct the people at the venue to put it in the back and not bring it out. Oop. Thanks for the advice. Having the cake changed to more cheesecakes is a good idea. Never in a million years did I think I'd have to become like one of the Redditors and password protect my wedding. But here we are. And NBSP. Update December 30th, 2023. Hello. Again. A big thank you to everyone who gave advice on my original post. I'm now married and had the best, most relaxing honeymoon with my now husband without any pesky family bothering us. By the time I posted, it was too late to cancel the wedding due to deposits and contracts. So it continued as planned. And to clarify, yes, my parents did pay for the wedding. Although my husband and I made it clear several times that we did not expect or need them to pay for everything. No, I don't think them paying excuses my mom's actions. My parents reiterated that it was our wedding and we should do what we wanted. Clearly the cake was the exception to this, though she had previously said to get cheesecake if that's what we wanted. My husband and I got a laugh out of everyone's suggestions for how to handle the cake. Initially, I wanted to go the petty route and surprise my mom by calling the bakery to change the cake design to something she would find tacky that would reflect my husband's hobbies. Yeah, no, like a groom's cake should do. After taking a few days to weigh my options, I knew my desire for petty satisfaction would nuke my relationship with my mom, which had truthfully never had this dynamic up until wedding planning. I knew that she absolutely was the one in the wrong and acting like a child. And while I'm the actual child in the relationship, I wanted to be mature and handle this like an adult, if only for my own moral high ground. I communicated with my parents and listed all the reasons why this situation, and others throughout the wedding planning process, was hurtful and completely out of line. Shock of the century to everyone on Reddit. I'm sure it didn't go well. There was a series of texts I received from my mom that demonstrated she couldn't take accountability or comprehend that I wasn't mad that she ruined my wedding by ordering a cake, but rather that she went behind my back knowing it would surprise and upset me on my wedding day. I attempted multiple times to redirect to the actual issue with little success. We ended the conversation with her apologizing for a cake making my husband and me so upset. This obviously wasn't a genuine apology or the main issue, even if she thought it was. She also agreed to move the groom's cake to a meal we had the day before the wedding, which I was fine with. At this point we were a week out from the wedding and the thought of continuing to press the issue was too much for me to handle with everything else on my plate. I dropped the rope leading up to the wedding so I could refocus on enjoying my wedding as best as I could. I interacted with my mom as little as possible the day of, and our wedding party and coordinator did a fantastic job being a buffer. While I've had some contact with her since, it has dramatically declined so I can get some much needed space. Obviously we'll need to have some tough conversations, but I'm choosing to spend my time with my new husband and getting back into therapy. First weddings. Man, they really bring out the crazy in people. Oh, and the cheesecakes were a huge hit. BTW and NBSP. Mrs. Neville BOS. I'm glad you had the day you wanted and enjoyed your honeymoon. Unfortunately, although previously this wasn't the dynamic you had with your mother, the fact she refused to see her error and wasn't apologetic, if I were you I would bear that in mind for the future, i.e. other major events, children etc., and plan accordingly. Oop. Oh absolutely. The lack of respecting boundaries, breaking trust for future life events was actually something I pointed out in our conversation. She didn't seem to understand the point I was making. Just kept going back to the cake and not the deeper issue. And NBSP. This is a repost sub. I am not oop. Imagine caring about a cake so much you forever destroy your relationship with your child. The beginnings of the missing reasons. OOP's mom will never understand why OOP won't tell her all the details of her life. Why she can't house sit. Why she can't come to the ultrasound or be in the delivery room. Why she can't babysit. It's all a mystery, but it may have to do with cheesecake, and isn't that the silliest thing ever? Yeah, Wedding cake drama. We've been married for over 40 years at this point, and I still haven't forgiven my mill. She was a very experienced baker and had quite a sideline in baking cakes to order for friends and family. I had seen the cake I really wanted. Two-tier sponge cake, with a waterfall of tiny roses bursting out the top and tumbling down the side of the cake to pool at the bottom, and had been excitedly describing it to her. She said that was something she'd be more than happy to make for us. But wouldn't people expect that we have a proper, traditional cake with fruitcake and royal icing? I said how much I hated fruitcake, and that I'd be perfectly happy to just buy my dream cake, but was told, very firmly, that I was to leave it to her. She would take care of it as a wedding gift to us. We then agreed 1 chocolate and 1 vanilla layer and pink roses. Fast forward to the wedding reception. We walk in, and there, on the table, is a very traditional, 3-tier fruitcake, swathed in royal icing. I wanted to cry, so much. When I challenged her, politely, she said that the cake was for the guests, not for me, and that my original idea had been silly and childish. Yeah, as I said, I'll carry this grudge to my grave. I'm not sure I buy that OOP's dynamic with her mom was completely different before the wedding. It seems more likely that this was one of the first times OOP was asserting her own preferences and holding firm. I didn't realize my parents were crazy until my relationship was getting serious. But that's just because I mostly just did what they wanted me to do until then. I didn't have a reason to rock the boat. What is it with mothers and forcing food on their daughters? Mine just did this multiple times in the past week. I'm currently on bed rest from having a hysterectomy. I'm also recovering from esophagitis, gastritis, and cholestatic hepatitis, all while being treated for PBC. Basically, I have a lot going on with my digestion. Just to give one example, I drink chai in the mornings. She brought turmeric tea and kept trying to give it to me. It clearly states on the box and the individually wrapped tea bags to not consume if you have gallbladder disease, liver disease, or a biliary blockage. I've had my gallbladder out, and even before all the biliary issues, had a really bad response to turmeric tea. My husband thinks she may have slipped it to me at least once when he was doing a snack run, because I had an attack and an upset stomach after she made my tea. That's only one example, but still, he's been great, and 99% of her shenanigans were blocked by him. So frustrating. Damn, this mother really is destroying her relationship with her op because of a cake. This lady is just full of herself. I talked with my 34F mom, 70F, about why women her age felt the need to control aspects of their kids' weddings, showers, child rearing, etc. To be clear, my mom's opinionated but takes no for an answer with her own kids. We were talking about her sister and my cousin. She said that for their generation, or at least for her family, they didn't have a lot of say with their own life events, especially weddings, because it was viewed as the parents' opportunity to show off to their friends, and you relied more on your parent for ideas because there was no internet resources like there are now. Her theory is that now that they are the parents, especially moms, think it's their turn to be in the driver's seat for their kids' wedding since they had no control over theirs. But that's not the culture anymore, and it winds up being disappointing for some women. This probably isn't always the case, the main explanation, but I thought it was an interesting perspective. Basically, for boomers, older generations, weddings were for the guests and hosts. Now they are about what the couple wants, because increasingly couples are getting married older and are financially stable enough to pay themselves and choose what they want. So, when OOP's mom heard about the cake, she was thinking, OMG, How will I be perceived by my guests who may disapprove of not having a traditional cake? See this as a reflection on me, not, it's just dessert and my daughter's choice. Not my business. I think that might have been the thought process. And if it was, how sad she cared more about outdated social expectations than her relationship with her daughter. My need for petty revenge is so disappointed right now. Oop handled this so well. Still, I wonder if her mother will keep doing things like that. Oop will notice more and more. This reminds me of the issue I had with my mom recently. We needed a new roof and windows. The roof was half shot and the windows were DIY'd from the previous owners and had been leaking every storm since we bought the place 6 years ago. I texted my mom saying we were getting a new roof and windows and she tried to talk me out of it. We were getting a great deal based on rough quotes and she was trying to make me DIY it ourselves. Firstly, no. We didn't have time or manpower to throw a roof up quickly. And certainly none of the skills needed for replacing the windows. I had to put my foot down. Or let my mom run roughshod over me while I'm in my 30s. A simple, "Mom, you're overstepping," and she backed off swiftly with an apology. I cannot imagine my mom not hearing me out when I point out she's doing that. By the way, love the new roof and windows. I'm not entirely sure the roofers ever took a break. They were in and out in 6 hours and I swear never got off the roof even once for a piss break. My Phil told us. Later in life. Reflect back on how difficult this experience has been. Try your best to respect each other and make your marriage work because you won't want to go through this kind of wedding stress again. It's so nice to read a post where the one person is so out of line and the other was totally sane about it and didn't let it ruin anything. Mad respect op. Not every hill is the hill to die on. This mom is going to end up like another mom I read about yesterday who ended up putting some non-medicine MLM patch thingy on his 6-month-old baby. This was despite being explicitly told not to do it. These types of parents always think they know better than their misguided adult children. Boundaries mean zilch. And use the narcissist's prayer as a code to live by. It's weird that Oop said her mom has never been like this before. I wonder once Oop gets into therapy and starts discussing her mom, if she will end up having that light bulb moment that her mom actually was like this all throughout her life? Like because it's been so normalized for her. She was just blind to it? I have a feeling some revelations will be made in the not too distant future for her. She thinks her mom is manipulative now. Just wait until they have a baby. I'm so glad my own mother was the exact opposite of this when I got married. In fact, I had to stop her in the middle of yet another, "Are you sure you're okay with this idea I had? Because it's your wedding and if you don't like it you just have to say, I won't be offended. It's your wedding, you should have what you want." Spiel about the font she was using on the inside of the confetti cones to tell her that it was absolutely fine. She could use whatever font she thought was best. And if I had strong feelings about something either way I would let her know. She essentially only married my father way back when due to family pressure. Let her parents organize the whole thing. And then when she married her current husband a few years back, had to essentially do it in secret and tell us all afterwards because her family would flip if she did it how she wanted. So it was obviously important to her that I didn't have to deal with any of that. It was quite sweet, in an annoying sort of way. I feel like it's not even about the dessert details and preferences. For Mom, it's about sending a message. If they had been excited about a lavish cake, Mom would have found a way to pick something wrong with it and shoehorned in her own suggestion. Gosh, this is painfully relatable. My mother nuked our already shaky relationship at my wedding over something equally unnecessary. She went on to tell me it was one of the most hurtful days of her life. I stood up to her for once. Politely. Just set a boundary and didn't budge. Which was new for her. She's still on a serious info diet and one bad choice away from NC. This has real, the Iranian yogurt is not the issue here, vibes. It's not the cake. It's the lack of respect. I don't understand the big deal with wedding cake. And especially can't understand why a mother would cause so much upset and drama over it. I don't remember any of the wedding cakes from any weddings I've been to over the years. I've not even seen them be cut at half the weddings. They just appear sliced up at the 9 p.m. buffet at the reception. UK weddings. So I didn't have a cake at my wedding. When people asked about wedding planning, the cake would come up and people's minds were blown that we weren't having a cake. And nothing in its place. I preferred to offer more Prosecco at the welcome drinks. I would have kept the cake and had very clear instructions for the venue to set it up at her place. Setting clearly as the mob cake. Let her deal with everyone knowing she was so immature and self-centered she needed her own cake. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.